Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
So what?
possible.
Yeah. So forget this. Forget the vegans. Forget all that. What is your? Have you thought morally about meat eating, and is it informed, or is it just what you like the taste of?
Basically, vegans start from a point of we ought to value sentient life. I typically start from the point of we ought to value human sentient life. People will ask me why humans versus all sentient life, and I'll say, well, I think the human conscious experience is something unique that we ought to protect, but it's kind of arbitrary.
He literally had to bite the bullet on. Well, actually, no. He avoided biting the bullet on killing young children who are like 1 or 2 years old, because he argued that like literal newborn children can understand language when they literally don't even have the ability to separate random noises from talking. He's such a dishonest joke.
Because it's very foundational, and they'll say, well, I think we should protect all life, and I'll say, well, why? And they'll go, well, because suffering is bad. And it's like, why is it? But the suffering of what things is bad? It's like, well, why? And you start to ground out in these areas that are like fundamentally unknowable or outside of like human knowledge. Yeah, so that's why I'm a meter.
He's never actually been able to name a trait that doesn't result in killing at least like in the tens of millions of humans. The last debate I had, where it was technically an abortion debate, but what it really came down to was just another veganism debate. He would have to have accepted that it's okay to kill children up to, I think, like around 2 years of age. Destiny's a fucking clown.
The ethical arguments get like very, very into the weeds on like epistemics and ethics in terms of like how do we figure out exactly.
Yeah, the first time I debated him, he said it's okay for people to torture and murder any animal they want. So if they want to like stab out their dog's eyes, they can do that if they feel like it.
Exactly, where our foundational belief is here for all of our ethical beliefs. But where I'm at is I'm a meat eater, but I'm a consistent meat eater. Okay, I think that most people on this planet, based on where their ethical intuitions lie, should probably be vegetarians. I think. Usually what I get the most fun out of is anytime like an animal gets like tortured or killed, like Cecil the lion or that the gorilla that got shot. Yeah. Whenever shit like this happens, I will relentlessly make fun of meat eaters that get super emotionally invested and involved and get like cry or whatever when like between like snarfing down mouthfuls of chicken nuggets and cheeseburgers of animals that are being factory farmed and stuff. I think it's incredibly hypocritical. If you care about stuff like your dog or your cat and all this, probably you shouldn't be like a meat eater. If it like morally bothers you if people eat like cats or dogs, but you think it's okay to eat cows or pigs or whatever, but yeah, that's a whole other.
Got it. So you mentioned that your ground is human sentience. Is that a reasoned position, or is that just an intuitive moral position where you don't feel a connection to animals?
I think at some point we're gonna have to say that it's intuitive, but I mean, like the rationale, I guess, is that like I feel like human conscious experiences. There's a lot of parts of these that are incredibly unique that only exist insofar as like human experiences go. So like comprehension.
Like I mean, what does he mean? Like any animal has a unique fucking conscious experience compared to any other type of animal. Like it's just bizarre how he says that.
Of language, not just like speaking a word and having a reaction, but like
there we go. He's bringing up language. I literally debated him on this last time I debated it. It was only like a month ago or some shit. It was fairly recent. He said language is what makes a human conscious experience unique. I brought up the fact that newborn children do not have the ability to understand language. And he flat out denied that. And then I said, okay, well, how about we set up another debate? And then he said, oh, yeah, sure. Then I tried to debate him on it again when I have research, and he refused. So he knew he was wrong. He deliberately fucking lied. So if he's going to use the like language thing, okay, well then newborn children, and even up till 2 years old, they do not have a unique experience of language. It's not even until 2 years old that they can separate random noises from people speaking.
The entire there's an entire cognition that goes into understanding language that like only humans understand. So for instance, like
It's not even true, by the way. Seems like whales, dolphins, they have an ability to understand language.
animals can't understand negatives, for instance. Like if I tell you, your mom is not in that room, that has like semantic meaning to you. You understand that.
By the way, that's not actually true. I'm pretty sure insects, like bees, are able to communicate that sort of idea by dancing. Secondly, they're at least able to understand the concept, especially animals that either migrate, store food for later, or hunt. They're able to understand that something isn't going to be there at a certain point in time. Like squirrels, they will bury nuts in various places and they'll know where they buried nuts. So they're going to know, okay, a nut isn't going to be there, but a nut's going to be here. Predatory animals are going to know, okay, well, the animals that I have to eat aren't going to be here, but they're going to be there. Migratory animals like birds, they're going to know, okay, well, food isn't going to be in this place, but it's going to be in this place.
That. But an animal can't understand a negative, or they can't understand like being able to describe something else in another time or place. They have like more like
they can
complicated systems of like Pavlovian responses, essentially, right? Like if I bark, I could tell you there's like danger or food, but I couldn't communicate like complicated information that exists in different time or space and things. Like there's a lot of like.
It's completely and utterly untrue, especially if you deal with very intelligent animals like horses. You can very easily communicate those sorts of things.
Like parts of our mind, of our conscious sentient experiences that are incredibly elevated compared to animals. So I'll say that like that's probably the reason why I value the human conscious.
By the way, like it's funny how he says, "Oh, well, these experiences are highly elevated compared to that of animals." Like animals have, like so many animals have a better sense of like sight. They can see a greater degree of like color spectrums. They can like their ability to sense like subtle vibrations in the earth, sounds, things like that. Like they're way beyond what we can comprehend, like how strong they are, how fast they are. So like it's funny how he talks about, oh, well, humans have this unique experience. Like, okay, well, plenty of animals have unique experience. I mean, it again, I've debated him on this. If he's being honest, he'd be okay with killing 2-year-olds.
Experience a bit differently, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's going to, like I said, well, why would you value that? There's a very common line of vegan argumentation called name the trait, where they'll try to get you to say like, well, what is the one trait a human has that every human has that animals don't have? Yeah. Basically stuff like that. And it gets pretty difficult to go through the weeds, but that's essentially kind of where I wind up. But
got it. And I mean, because that was where I was going to ask, which is like someone who, you know, it has a language deficiency or is mentally retarded, which I don't know what we call that nowadays. Like
that word
is not that, is maybe that's why people are upset when you use it, because you would eat them. Is how do you answer that, name that trait objection?
Yeah, I never go by traits. I say that like humans are gifted a priori with like the faculty.
The fuck is he talking about? He used language as the trait the last time I debated him. He's fucking lying.
For a type of cognition that doesn't exist even in like apes or gorillas. Like
it doesn't even make sense. He's literally naming a trait right now.
Can't like comprehend language, for instance. Some people are going to fight with like Coco the ape or whatever, or the gorilla. Like none of that actually is true. If you go
and let me ask you, like what is it? The contrapositive. Like, what if an ape could? What if we found an ape that like spoke? With that,
yeah, I think at some point, I think you'd have to make a concession. Like if an alien species came and they seem to possess like similar faculty, you have to say like, okay, well, if we're gonna grant humans the right to exist, or whatever, we probably should for these creatures as well, right?
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I disagree with a lot of that, but it sounds like you've had these arguments before, and so
we have.
Who is he taught? Like, who is
yeah. The next question is, how do I feel about abortion?
No.
Those are the two biggest arguments where people come out of my whole audience like, no.
Yeah. No, my sense of you, which you obviously don't agree with, is that you are starting from wanting to eat meat and rationalizing backward for like what are the differences that will grant this, that will also make me, which also seems very important to you, to remain intellectually
Well, yeah, he certainly rationalizes backwards, and you can prove that. He always changes what the trait is whenever it suits him. He'll bite stupid bullets as long as it doesn't affect him personally. Like, he's just incredibly weaselly and dishonest all the fucking time. In the last debate, I debated him. He lied and then refused to have a follow-up debate when he demanded I provide evidence to either disprove some of his claims and to prove some of mine. And then he refused to debate me again.
consistent. And I imagine, that I could be wrong, that your experience does probably include a lot of intuitive felt connection to animals, because I think that probably like me, you're connected to what appears to be a spectrum of consciousness that you experience them as having, and like their capacity to suffer moves you. I would guess, though I don't know exactly what goes on in your experience of
Sure, yeah, probably. For most people, right? Like I would say, like a person that tortures animals is probably a bad person because there's something missing empathetically there that would make them more likely to hurt humans, right? I think that's I think that's been debunked, but there used to be like the psychopath triad. It was like,
they hurt animals and started fires and shit.
Set fires and pee the bed.
Pee the bed, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, I think that was the psychopath triad, but I think that's been largely disproven. But I mean, if I saw somebody like torturing an animal, I would think this person's fucked in the head. So yeah.
Would you? Well, then we can wrap on this. Would you feel compassion for the animal? Like, let's assume that person never harms a human ever. Like they just get off on horses, cows, pigs, dogs, cats.
I mean, I think you would, but I mean, like, would I? I think I probably would. Yeah, because there's intuitive. It's not an intuition pump. There are things that are gonna ring true for everybody. Like hearing something cry out. It sounds like a baby. It sounds like a cry. Something trying to escape from a negative stimulus. Like these are all going to be things that's like you feel that, right? Even like a robot doing these things, you'd probably have like an empathetic response for it, right? Yeah.
Sure. Or GTA 5, person on the street when you run him over, you're like, oh God.